Hello, everyone. It's Phil. Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. Lilith and Charlie aren't here this week, but yes, Phil. I hope Phil's here. But yes, I am joined by a special guest, Erica Schultz. How are you, man?
Pretty good. I don't know how special I am, but
Oh, please! Anytime a writer joins us, it's very special.
I have a question. Who's
Yes,
Charlie?
one of my co-hosts.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
And
yes.
what is he being freed from?
Oh, he records from his apartment where him and his family live, and certain people have mentioned it looks like he's just the angle he shoots from. It almost looks like he's sitting in a prison cell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
That's-
That was kind of confusing because I'm watching the crawl. I'm
yeah,
like, who's Charlie and why does he need to be freed?
yes,
Why are we not doing more for Charlie?
sometimes where he shoots, it's like by his children's bunk bed, so it looks like he's like sitting in prison.
Hey, you shoot where you can shoot.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I wanted to talk to you again, purely selfish motives. I wanted to talk to you because yes, I read Hallows Eve #1 and X-23 Deadly Regenesis #1. Okay, so first of all, I must admit, okay, I am a huge Ben Riley fan.
Okay.
And I heard the announcement of Hallows Eve, and we're gonna start with Hallows Eve. I was like, I don't know about the whole idea behind this. I read this first issue. I'm hooked. I'm just like I was mad the first issue ended. I'm like I need more. I need more now.
Um, well, yeah, Hallows Eve was actually created in ASM
Yes.
14, I think, was when she was revealed as when Janine was revealed to be transitioned into Hallows Eve by Madeline Pryor. And it was a really interesting concept that that Nick Lowe, the editor, came and spoke to me about. So I thought that it was, the idea of the masks, and we sort of went through a few iterations. This idea of like, are the masks magical, or is she magical? Could she use any type of mask?
Mm,
Is it just the masks that that Madeline gives her? So we sort of went back and forth about really fleshing out her power set, um, and where the abilities come from, and because if you think about it, there was this one when we were sort of playing with it, I had this idea of like her standing in line at like a spirit Halloween with like armfuls of masks and people like looking at her weird and she's like, kids, am I right? Kind of thing. Um and then we worked it out that it's not her who's magical, it's the masks themselves that are
mm.
magical and everything. And so we had this sort of back and forth with that. Um, but that I mean, that was kind of a fun sort of detour to take. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Ben Riley fans were upset at the end of Dark Web because he's now currently a prisoner in limbo. But I mean, if there's anybody in in the Marvel universe, I almost said MCU. If there's anybody in the Marvel universe, whether it's 616 or 1832 or whatever, that loses more than Peter Parker, it's Ben Riley.
Yes.
So, um, so it's kind of you probably could have predicted that Ben was going to lose that one.
Yeah.
Um, so what I thought was interesting was that the last time we see Janine before this miniseries starts is Ben literally using the staff from Limbo because he's king of Limbo with the scepter, opens a portal and shoves Janine through, and that's the last time we see her. So we were very open ended as to where we were going to pick up and how we were going to pick it up because it had just this sort of like, well, whoa, where did she go? Where did he put her?
Mm.
Kind of thing. So we had a lot of leeway that way.
So that was gonna be one of my questions: is do they give you like a freedom to do pretty much whatever you want, or since it is spinning off like such a big flagship book like The Amazing Spider-Man, do you get notes where like you can do this, but you can't do this, you have to end this here?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends. other, with the X-23 story, I had a lot more leeway because it wasn't coming out of a crossover.
Mm,
Also, the story is taking place during the Utopian era, not
yeah.
the Krakoa era, so I had a lot more leeway with that. Um, but I mean, in when it comes to publishers like this, what's going to happen. You have things planned out, 8, 10, 12, 14 months in advance. Therefore, stuff that I'm not aware of. So I will pitch ideas for the story and be like, oh, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. And it's kind of the editor's job to navigate to make sure that nothing that I'm proposing is going to cause a headache for continuity, in a year, or nothing that I'm proposing is going to negate something that came previously that's already been done, but just not in stores yet. Therefore, I'm not, privy to that information yet. Um, so it really, I mean, it comes down to the editors to really sort of know not just the material, but know the direction that it's going in to sort of make sure that whatever I pitch or to sort of keep me on track. Um, but like I said, with X-23, it was a much sort of wider, open situation just because I'm not worrying about Hellfire Gala or
Mm,
I
mhm.
mean, Dark Web was also with the X-Men. I'm not worrying about that tie-in and what was established with that. So I had so much more freedom with that particular miniseries. Yeah.
But yeah, back to the mask thing for Janine. So is it a finite number of masks, or can she like, since it is magic, can she pull out an unlimited number, or is it?
Well, Madeline said that the bag is endless. So take it as that. The bag is endless.
Hmm.
So there are certain specific masks that we have used, obviously, because they're on the covers
Mm.
of the books. So that kind of gives some away. There are others that I had made like a list of possible masks and what their power set could be. And I was chatting with Michael Dowling, who is the interior artist, but also he's doing the A covers for the book. And we were chatting about, okay, well, what kind of mask would, what kind of power would be associated with this, and what kind of power would be associated with that, and et cetera. Um, so I have sort of a set list of masks that not only have previously been used, like in Venom 14, I believe, which is part of the Dark Web crossover. She uses this fly mask so she can fly and things like that. So I've got that set list, but then every once in a while I'd like to throw in a fun one here or there to just add to sort of the not goofiness, but sort of add a little levity to the situation.
But yeah, you mentioned Michael's art. I mean, it really pops off the page. I'm sure it looks good digitally, but I am so old school. I mean, I think it really pops on like the paper copies.
Well, I was gonna say that's Stanley Archer, and that's the Archer cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I just mean his interiors and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael's fantastic. This is my first time working with him, and I'm really enjoying it. He's really very. I mean, he's very smart. He knows he's been in the business longer than I have, and he knows what he's doing. And it's always good to be able to go into a situation and be able to know that your artists they've got it unlocked. They know what they're doing. And I love getting layouts back because I know what I wrote, and then I'll look at the layouts and be like, oh, I didn't write it that way, but it works so much better that way.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's kind of how comics really should be. It should be sort of like making a sandwich, like just every layer gets you better and better and better.
Oh yeah. I've heard that from a few writers who like on. That's a sign of a great run, and where it's like, I gave the artist this, he or she sends me back this, and it's like, oh, this I didn't never even imagine how great this could be, and they improve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, I was oh, okay. I know what I was going to ask you. Janine, even more than like X-23 is like more of a blank slate because she's only showed up a few times in the 90s, and then there was really nothing with Janine until like the Beyond stuff. So that did you?
Yeah, I mean, we know her past. We know that she had killed her father in self-defense, and then she was convicted of his murder, and then went on the run. And that's when Ben actually first meets her when she's on the run. She had numerous different aliases, but the reason why she sticks with Janine, which is an alias, is because that was the alias that she was using when she met Ben.
Mhm.
And her relationship with Ben and her time with Ben was um, the happiest that she's been, and the happiest that she remembers being. And so, who she is as Janine is who she wants to be and who she wants to stay. So, even though her name technically is Elizabeth Dine, and we saw in the opening of the Beyond arc where when she's in prison, they call her Elizabeth and she corrects them. And it's basically because this is the personality, not personality, excuse me. This is the persona that she chooses to be. She's taking ownership of that.
Yeah. Are we going to see? I guess as a spoiler, I don't know if you want to answer this. Are we going to see any flashbacks to their time together, like even on the road or anything?
Well, there's a quick one in issue number one. But as of right now, there's no plan for any more significant flashbacks. I mean, this whole story, end to end takes place in about 2 weeks, but the heist and she made the mistake and she now has to sort of clean up her mess,
Mm,
takes place over about 3 days,
okay.
because a full moon lasts three
Mm,
days. And so, you know, that's I wanted to have a tight timeline because there are so many things that can happen that will affect other books down the road.
oh,
So having something in 3 days, nothing that consequential can happen in 3 days that is going to cause like the biggest ripple effect. You know, I mean, unless Galactus shows up, which he doesn't show. Spoiler: Galactus does not show
no.
up. Um, but the idea is, keeping a very tight schedule for these. For this, also, it helps like create urgency in the reader and really sort of like, you got to keep going. And also, people are run ragged because everything's happening so quickly.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of drama when people are, there's a lot of drama that you can mine when people are not at their best.
I do like that, the whole thing with the werewolf thing, try not to spoil it too much, but, that there are consequences to if some of the using some of these masks is not just, "Oh, hey, I put on a different mask, there's a different power." It's like, yes, there are consequences. Things can go off
Yeah,
the rails,
I don't think Janine truly understood the power set,
mm,
and I don't think that. And she has always been um, a very sort of short-term thinker. I need to get in and out of this situation, and then I'll figure out next. What comes next. And that's what happened in the bank vault. She saw an obstacle, and the obstacle was this particular security guard. And all right, I got to get through this. I'm not going around this guy. I'm going through him.
mhm.
So here we go. And but she didn't understand that when she puts this mask on, it physically changes her. If she becomes the physical manifestation of this, whatever it is, in this case, it happens to be a werewolf. And that was a big shocker to her. But because she's such a short term thinker, and in her mind, all she's doing is just, I didn't hurt him too much. And she even says that, I kind of feel bad that I roughed him up a bit, but he's fine. He's going to be fine, you know. But she doesn't really understand the consequences of her actions. And she keeps telling herself, I'm not a monster. I'm not a supervillain. I just need to all I want to do is get the money, get Ben, and we're going to go away. We're going to go somewhere far where nobody's going to bother us, and we're not going to bother anybody. We just want to be left alone. And that's her whole thing. Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just want to be left alone. But to get there, you have to hurt people. And so she has trouble sort of reconciling, the ends justify the means kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always thought these two were a good couple, just because her and Ben, that they both have tragedy in their backstories, and they kind of like a bonding thing with them, and I mean, just everything you just said. But is there anything else that like you've discovered about Janine writing her? Because again, there hasn't been a ton of stories with Janine.
Well, I mean, I don't want to change really anything about her or her personality because it's not being true to the character. Yes, there's not a lot that's been written about her, but what has been important.
Oh yeah.
Um, so, I mean, we add a lot to her personality. We add a lot to her motivation. And we show that throughout the course of these 5 issues, we show that, she has a reason to do what she's doing. And in her mind, she's not doing a bad thing. She's just doing, in her mind, it's almost better for everybody. Just stay out of my way
Mm-hmm.
so then I can disappear with Ben, and then everybody will be safe because we'll be gone. We'll be away. We won't be bothering anybody. That kind of thing. So in her mind, it's almost like, we're doing you a favor by doing this, I'm doing you a favor by stealing money from a bank, kind of thing.
And I didn't think they'd pop up this soon, but it seems like the Beyond Corporation's going to have something to do with this also.
Yeah, Maxine is not going away. Maxine Danger, she's not going away. We had gone back and forth about potential, big bads and things like that, and one of the editors was very adamant about wanting to use Maxine. So I was like, all right, well, it's part of the job is to find, part of the challenge is to find a way to fit her in. So
because you said this series is leading to something else later on.
as far as I know, it is. Although I am privy to more than your regular Wednesday Warrior, but there's so much more going on in the Spidey office that I have no clue about. So yeah, I only have only so much information. But I do believe that this is leading to something a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you find that fun, challenging, where it's like they just give you just what you need to know to do the story?
Um, yes and no. I mean, my preferred method to work is you get the assignment, whether it's a character or they give you already a scenario that they've already sort of started. And I try and work out, depending on however many issues the story is, I try and work out the entire thing ahead of time. I'm one of those writers who sort of pre plans everything. So if there is time in the schedule, I sit down with the editor and we work out the arc and where each issue is going to break along, 5, 6, 8 issues, however many issues it is. In this case, we didn't exactly have that time. So it's been a little more, I'm not going to say haphazard, but it's been a little more challenging to me because usually when I start scripting, for me, outlining is the most time consuming because that's when you're really working out the beats. And then scripting is, more refining that. Whereas outline is when you're really, taking the saw to the wood. And so for this, it was a little different because instead of outlining the entire arc first, we're just doing issue by issue. So I'm kind of like, all right, so I got to remember what I did last issue. Now make sure that this doesn't conflict with that. Make sure that Nick or Caden, who are the two editors on this, make sure that they keep a heads up for this, kind of thing. They keep me on track as is their job, kind of thing. But I mean, it's a different way of working, and it's a different way that I'm not used to, but that's all part of, you work with different clients, you learn different ways, you work around things. I try very hard to write. When I write, I try to start with page one and move and keep going.
Hmm.
Um, but then there are times when that's not the case, and you've got to do 5 pages, 8 pages, whatever. And if that means that I have a sequence that's already written, well, pretty much, that's pages 18 through 20, then you know what? Refine pages 18 through 20, finish them, get them off the plate, and then go back to, that sequence that was really giving you trouble. And, sort of work on the easy stuff first, get it out of the way, and then you can spend that little extra time trying to work through whatever problem, whatever speed bump you're hitting in another sequence.
Just the challenges of working with someone else's intellectual property.
No, I mean, I don't think so, because I mean, there's a lot of latitude that they give you to begin with, as long as it doesn't sort of, I mean, obviously Spider-Man isn't going to be cursing,
Yeah.
kind of thing, but there's a lot of latitude that you get anyway. And I think that I don't know, maybe maybe I'm overstepping, but I don't think they would have given me the job if they didn't think I could handle it.
Oh, no, no, I'm just I know.
So
No, I know you can handle it. I'm just saying it is it just like a unique thing, rather than like when you do a character of your own, it's like with someone else's, it's like there are more notes, there's more oversight, and
well, I mean, I work with editors that when I'm doing my own work, I work with editors that I want to edit me,
mm,
Um, even on and even more so, I think, on creator owned stuff, because on creator owned stuff, you tend to get so close to the story that you can't see the blind spots.
mm,
And that's where an editor, I think, is extremely important. Um, so I mean, I work with editors that I want to hear critiques. I know a lot of people, and I know because I've been on the other side of this, where people will come to me and say, "Oh, I'd like you to read my script," and I'll give them edits, and they're almost offended by that. And a lot of people don't want critique. I think they want endorsement,
mm,
and that's not my thing. I want people to grow. I want people to learn, and I used to teach, so I mean, it's inherent in my nature to try and teach you a different way, a possibly even better way. And I think a lot of people don't want that. I think, especially with an industry like comics, where people are very, very passionate about it. I think that they don't want to hear, "Oh, the book that you've been working on for X amount of years, that there are plot holes in it."
mm.
They get very sort of, "Oh, well, you just don't understand." All right, well, I guess I don't understand. I mean, my whole thing, as having worked as an editor and having been a teacher, is if it's not on the page, it doesn't exist. If I read your issue and I come back with 30 questions, and you start rattling off the answers to the questions, it's like, okay, that's great, but why isn't that information here in my script, in what I just read? Why isn't that information given to the audience? As an indie creator, unless you have a huge name, you don't have the luxury of holding the cards so close to your chest.
Mm,
You don't have the luxury of revealing all in issue 6, because nobody's going to ride to issue 6 with you.
mm-mm.
And I know that that sounds harsh to a lot of people, but I'm just trying to be real. You know, if you ever go to comicron.com, look at the sales for issue number 1, and then look at the sales for issue number 2. Unless it's Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, or these huge, huge, huge names,
Drops.
there's a huge drop off. Now take that percentage of drop off and multiply it infinitesimally if you are a creator who's just starting out and has no name recognition.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I try to do, I don't always succeed at this, but what I try to do, and what I tell people that they should try to do, is that you pose 2 questions in every single issue.
Mm,
And at the end of an issue, you have to answer one of them. Because this way you're giving your reader something. If you're the type of person where all will be revealed in issue 6, you're not. It's not a give and take. You're the one who is, you know, ruling this path that they are on
Hmm.
and holding them hostage.
Hmm.
So pose 2 questions in each issue and answer one by the end of the other one,
Hmm.
by the end of the issue. So issue 1, you have questions A and B. Answer B by the end of issue 1. Issue 2, you still have question A and you pose question C. Answer maybe A by the end of issue 2.
Hmm.
You go into issue 3 with question C. And then this way there's still a back and forth and a back and forth. The reader is getting something. They are getting breadcrumbs,
Mm-hmm.
and they are getting they're sort of getting more enrichment of the story, but you still bring them because they still want to know the answer to that next question.
Mm-hmm.
um and to it has but it has to be a give and take. And I've seen that so much where I'll look at an issue number 1 for an indie book, and then I'll read issue number 2, and it's all just an information dump, either on who the characters are, what the world is, what the plot is supposed to be, whatever. It's all just an info dump. It doesn't tell me why, doesn't tell me um where this is going, doesn't tell me the motivation of any of these people. And a lot of times they'll just start throwing names out of characters. You don't care about any of them. Why do I care about this person? What makes this person, what makes this character something that I need to care about? Is it because a main character needs them for an alliance? Okay, then it's important that this main character, is able to persuade this secondary character to come with them.
Hmm.
Or are they just set dressing? And I think that one of the main mistakes that new creators do is um, they get so into one of what I would consider the 3 pillars of storytelling: your world, your character, or your plot. And they get so focused on one of those 3 that the other 2 suffer.
Hmm.
You get so focused on this epic, fantasy world with elves and X, Y, and Z and this and the next thing. And you have no plot, you have no motivation for your characters, or vice versa. And each one of those 3 should be enriching the next. It's like a 3-legged stool. They all have to be built up to the same level so it can stay. So it
Hmm.
can hold weight. And so it can be even, it can be level. And I think that that's important. And it's not something that, I do all the time. And there's plenty of stories where I have, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I needed to work on the characters in that, or I needed to work on the plot on that, or the world should have been fleshed out more. And I mean, I'm learning too, just as much as anybody else is. But I think that coming into it, making sure that those 3 pillars are pretty close to being fleshed out at the same rate, I think is a good stop. But like I said, a lot of indie creators will focus on one and
Yeah.
just go such a deep dive that oh, we have this immersive world. That's great. What happens in it? Who are the people that populate it? Like, the world should be complementary but also challenging to the characters. The plot should be accessible but also challenging within the world. The characters should be challenged by the plot but also be able to find some way to accomplish at least some, if not all, of the things that they need to do.
I've never heard it explained like that, but it makes complete sense to me because I've read arcs of people's books where it's just like sometimes it flows smoothly to me. Sometimes it just seems like, why does this seem like it's dragging out? And I think that's it, that they're not giving us breadcrumbs every issue or something. That makes complete, you're right. That makes complete sense. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I think there has to be a give and take with your read. And even if, I mean, I think even if you're a big name writer, although
Oh,
if you're a
yeah.
big name writer, you obviously have a lot more um, experience doing this. But I think the idea of giving your reader a little bit, um, every issue to make them want to come back, I think is important. Um, because you want it to be a symbiotic relationship. You don't just want to be like, give me money, I tell you a story. It doesn't work that way. You need a readership to the next book say, oh, I really like that first thing that they did. Let me go to this next thing that they did. Like, you need that readership. And obviously it's easier to get if you're working on a very high profile character, but everybody has to start out on indies. I mean, that's how writers start out.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I love all this background stuff, and I don't think I think some people don't see or know what goes into these stories, and this technique, I love all this stuff.
I'm glad to be insightful.
Yes, you must be a good teacher. You taught me something today. All right, all right. Before we run out of time, X-23 Deadly Regenesis.
Yes.
Um, like you said, it's set in the Utopia era. It seems like at Marvel they've been doing a lot of stories like that, like set in the '90s or set in the past. Is that
I
like
have no idea why.
okay? Oh, well,
I honestly, I don't know. I don't
okay.
know why. I'm just,
Well, that was
you
going to
know,
be my question. Was that your
yeah.
idea, or was that them saying we want this story set in this era?
Well, when I was given this story, I was told, there's multiple different ways you can go. You can set it now, which would be, on Krakoa and everything. But I don't know if the reveal of the five had come out yet.
Mm,
So that obviously would definitely influence, the story. They said we're also playing with setting it back in utopian era, and I said, oh, okay, well, I actually really enjoyed the utopian era. I really enjoyed that back and forth between um Logan and Laura, and the idea of, Laura wanted to be on X-Force because she figured it's what
mm,
I'm good at, and I want to make Logan proud. And Logan didn't want her on X-Force because he wanted her to be able to live her life and try and make peace with who she was. I mean, I think what people forget about is that, like, Logan is almost 200 years old. I mean, he has had decades and decades and decades to go over who he is and to make peace with not only the things that he's done, but the carrion in his wake. I mean, there's collateral damage everywhere,
mhm.
whereas Laura hasn't had that. Also, Logan had what I would consider ostensibly a normal childhood. Laura didn't even have that.
Yes.
So in this story, the idea is that Logan sort of persuades her to take a walkabout, to sort of almost take a sabbatical from Utopia, for two reasons. One, because she needs to find out who she is, but two, because she's scaring the young X-Men because, anybody her age is kind of freaked out by her because she doesn't have that socialization. She doesn't have that. She's very matter of fact and very literal because she wasn't raised to be a normal person. She was almost, I mean, the way I could think about it is almost like Winter Soldier. Like, if you cut out all of Bucky's past with Cap and you just took him from when he became Winter Soldier, he's very literal because he doesn't know anything else.
Mm,
They wiped his mind and set
got
him
it.
on his course, kind of thing. And that's basically what they did with Laura because they started from scratch. So this story is a way of Laura being able to find out who she is, not just on Utopia, but who she is in this wider world. Is she a hero? She's known to be an X-Man. What does that mean? Because she's also been on the kill force, that the everyday
Yeah.
people don't know about X-Force. So, there's this weird sort of like PR that you almost have to, this PR line that you have to walk where, everybody knows about Utopia and it's this, that, and the next thing. And the mutants are, the mutants have their own like PR person kind of thing. I think even Janet Van Dyne is doing PR for them,
Mm,
whereas Laura has to think, okay, so I'm not supposed to be a killer, but Cyclops wants me to be a killer, but Logan doesn't want me to be a killer, but this is what something I'm really good at. I mean, and you think about it, and she's 17, 18 years old.
yeah.
So all of that also milling around in the brain of a 17, 18-year-old. So it's a lot. It's a lot for her to go through. And she's going to have to confront some of the collateral damage, and that's going to really kind of blow her mind when she's actually confronted with this and has to say, "Oh wow, there were actual people who were on the other end of the actions that I took."
So is that why you said it? You decided on this era because it is a lot more heady here than like I feel like the Krakoa stuff is good, but it's like everything's pretty much on the table. People pretty much know what's going on here. Yeah, X-Force was still like this their little secret CIA kill squad.
Yeah, it
That,
was their Black Ops
yeah.
squad. Yeah. I liked that. I liked that idea. Also, and I'll be honest, one of the hardest things is figuring out the end because this is
Mhm.
happening
In the past.
in the past. I already know where the end is,
Yeah.
and I already sort of know the bumpers in which to to stay within my range. So I hope I made Mark and Drew's life, my two editors. I hope I made their lives easier that way, because I knew where to keep everything. Um, but I mean, I was a huge fan of the character from the Evolution cartoon series. So I really it was fun being able to work on her, and Edgar Salazar, phenomenal artwork. And Kalman and Androvsky did the covers, well, the A covers rather, because there's multiple covers coming out. But and we just learned they're going to second printing, so
Oh, nice.
yeah, so both Hallows Eve #1 and X-23 are going to second printing, so I'm pretty excited about that. Achievement unlocked.
If they came to you and just handed you a monthly X-23 book, would you
Oh, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Because I had multiple pitches
mm,
for it, so I still have other things,
oh,
you know,
nice.
that I could do with her.
Hmm.
Um, and I would love to explore her more. I mean, there are several characters that I would love to really delve into, even if it was just a one shot. Um, and you know, I will neither confirm nor deny that there will be other stuff coming out. So
Nice. That was one of the questions I got for you was what's like your dream character to write?
my dream character to write that I've never written before or that I've
Yeah,
already written.
that you've never
Okay.
written before, yeah.
So my dream character write that I've never written before for Marvel would probably be Beta Ray Bill.
Oh.
Um, my dream character for DC that I've never written, because technically I did 8 pages of Hawkgirl. She would be my #1, but I technically already wrote 8 pages of Hawkgirl on Sunny Lou Draw it. I would say would be Martian Manhunter.
Oh.
So yeah. But I would love to do Beta Ray Bill because he's basically the alien Captain America.
Mm.
You know, the best of his people volunteered to
Mhm.
undergo experiments to protect his people, to keep them safe, and you know, he has honor, he has dignity, he has heart. He's basically just the horse face Captain America. And
Now
what little girl doesn't love horses, you know?
now
That was
now I
such a trope. Yeah, I know.
now I want to Beta Ray Bill Steve Rogers like road trip or so, some
I
kind of
actually
adventure.
I on another podcast, they told me to blind pitch a Cat Beta Ray Bill, and I blind pitched him on the podcast. So I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not I actually sent that pitch in.
Ooh.
Um, so we'll see. You know, who knows what happens. You know, today's Friday. Different things could happen tomorrow. Monday's a whole new week.
I mean, they have a friend in common. It's completely possible.
Who knows? Who knows?
All right, so you answered that. The way you answered that. So, what Marvel character that you have already written would you love to write again? Is it Laura? Is it someone
Oh,
else?
I would love to write Laura again. I would love to write Misty Knight again. I would love
Oh,
to write Daredevil again. I would love to write
oh,
Moon
that's
Knight again. Um, I would. I mean, I'm enjoying writing Hallows Eve. I'd love to write her again. Um, since the covers for issue #3 are already out, Spidey makes a cameo. I'd love to write Peter again. Um, so I mean, I think it's a really fun sandbox to play in. just in general. Um, so I would love, and I'm not going to say no to any character they give you,
Oh yeah.
just because even if it's a character that you're not that familiar with, it's still, I mean, you're writing superhero comics. Come on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But no, you did like the Daredevil annual and the Moon Knight story. Yeah, those were great. Also, yeah, I love those. The Spider-Man, God, I'd love to write a Spider-Man, but is there ever a fear with like certain characters like Peter Parker where it's like, okay, I have to have plenty of jokes on hand or, witty banter and, is every joke going to stick the landing or?
I think one thing about Peter is that because everything is a joke to him, and it's a trauma response, but because everything is a joke to him, it's kind of like I would want to write him on the day that he's having an off day,
Mm,
where he's about to think of a joke and he's about to spout it out and he screws the punchline or
mm.
something. And kind of like when he was losing his abilities because, mentally he was having
Oh, in
issues.
the movie, yeah.
Well, I mean, they something similar happened in the comic as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was having issues with his spider sense. He was having issues with lots of his abilities and stuff, just because he was going through mental turmoil,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So I mean, I would try and find a way to do it. I don't know. I would find a way to do it that I'm happy about it and that the editors are happy about it. Whether or not the audience would be happy about it, I don't know. But my whole thing is, if I'm proud to have my name on the book and the editors are say, yes, this hits all the buttons it's supposed to hit, um, then I've done my job. The icing is when people say, hey, it's really good, I really enjoy it. But the job is to make sure that I'm happy with it, and most definitely to make sure that the publisher's happy.
Mm. And is it one of the funnest jobs in the world to write comics because for research you just get to read old comics?
It is. I'll quote Cypress Hill. It's a fun job, but it's still a job.
Yes.
So when I am a full-time freelancer, so a lot of people in comics have a day job and then they either write or draw comics on the side. I'm full-time freelancer.
Mhm.
So for me, the urgency of constantly having a job is there
Uh,
because this is my job. Whereas when I still had a full-time job and I was writing comics, the urgency wasn't there. I'm not going to say I was lazy writing comics because I wasn't, but I felt as if I didn't stick the landing on this one issue, it wasn't going to be make or break.
mm,
Whereas now I'm like, I got to stick every landing because this is the job. Um, and it is a fun job, but it is still a job. And there are days that I don't really feel like writing because I don't have that inspiration there. But I always have a notebook with me and I carry it around with me. Like literally, if I go from my office to downstairs to watch some TV, I have my notebook with me because I never know when something is going to hit. And I'm gonna be like, oh, let me just write that down. And it could just be one sentence, but the next day when I feel better and I feel a little more open to ideas, I read that sentence and it might spark something and then I'm off, writing,
mm.
12 pages straight.
Oh yeah, I've said I don't know how you modern comic book writers do it. I mean, how many books are you writing like a month right now?
Right now I'm writing 3. No, right now I'm writing 4 books a month. Um, and I'm outlining. I have a Kickstarter starting on the 28th of March, and it's for 3 volumes. The first of the 3 volumes, the Kickstarter is for its first story called Cristabel. So whereas I'm scripting for 4 books, I am also outlining for Cristabel Volume 2. Um, and Cristabel Volume 1, the art is almost complete with that. So then I have to, organize the art and letter and all that other stuff.
So basically working on 5.
Yes. And those are 60 pages each. Cristabel's 60 pages each. So each volume is 60 pages. So it's going to be 180 pages total when all 3 volumes are done. So I have I have to outline the second 60 paged uh, issue. So it's a lot,
It's
but
so do you have to keep like a set schedule? Like, okay, Monday I work on this book, Tuesday I work on this book, Wednesday I work on this book.
I try to. I very much try to. It also comes down to everything has a different deadline, and some deadlines are like drop dead,
Mm,
whereas other deadlines are like, get it to us by mid-April. You know, so for me, what I always try to do is I always try and get a draft done, whether it's good or garbage. I try and get a draft done within a week and a half,
mm,
about 10 days before the actual deadline. And then I take a full day off from that script. So if I'm writing Cristabel and I'm writing Hallows Eve and I finish the Cristabel script on Tuesday, I will not touch Cristabel on Wednesday.
mm.
I will focus on something completely different, will not touch it. And then I will go back Thursday with completely fresh eyes and then run through the script, tweak dialogue, or add a panel, take a panel out, whatever. And that can take another 2, 3 days. And then once I finish that, again, I take another day off completely from that project and just come back to it with fresh eyes. Because I think if you needle something too much,
Mm.
you're going to wind up screwing something up that worked just because you're changing everything. And if you change everything, there's certain things that still worked that you just were, too focused on. That's why I kind of have to take some time away from it.
So maybe working on the multiple books does help, where it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, I can put this away for a day or two, come back with fresh eyes, and be like, oh hey,
Yeah, and it also works with editing as well because if I have a project that I'm editing, then I can shut off the writer brain
mm,
and then focus on the editing. And then when I come back to writing, the writer brain has rested. There's a book coming out in May called Paper Planes from Maverick, which is an imprint of Mad Cave Studios, and I edited that book with Jenny Wood and Dozer. And working with the two of them was fantastic. I mean, this is a book we worked on for almost, no, actually, it was 2 years that we
mm.
worked on it. And it's finally coming out in May, and it's a labor of love, and we're really very excited about it. But I was able to then stop and say, okay, I'm not going to script. I'm going to focus on, reading Jenny's scripts, looking over Dozer's art, making sure the lettering is working, et cetera, et cetera. And that's, you're still working,
Hmm.
but you're focusing on another part of your brain. This way, the writer part can sort of work itself out and, work through whatever speed bump, whatever, block you hit. And then, oh, okay, boom. And then start off again.
Hmm. So, so you're writing 4 to 5 books and you're editing. So,
Yeah. And I'm lettering a book too,
oh,
a monthly, but you're a freelancer. You don't,
yeah.
you don't get weekends off.
Oh yeah.
I try and take one day a week where I do next to nothing. I will never do nothing for the day. I will
Mm,
do, I'll do next to nothing. So I try and make that either a Saturday or a Sunday. But sometimes it's Tuesday, you know. Other times I'll hand in a script on a Wednesday and I'll be waiting for, revisions or waiting for notes or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm taking my day off on Thursday, kind of thing. I try and keep like a schedule, but it won't always be a
mhm.
Monday through Friday. But I'll work, my 5 to 6 days straight.
Yes. And yes, you are a full-time freelancer and it is a job, but I mean,
It is.
you must love the industry. That I mean, I don't think even if it's your job, I don't think you could keep up that pace if you didn't love.
Oh no, well, was it JR who said, "How do you keep hitting deadlines?" Well, you get married, you get a wife, you get a house, you get a car, you get bills. And that's how you keep making deadlines. I think it was JR who said that. Maybe it was Sylvester, but I think it was JR. And this idea of, you have these responsibilities that you have to fulfill because, I'm not going to get into, why capitalism sucks, but I have mortgage.
Yeah.
My husband works, but we have a mortgage. We have a house. We've got two older cats. One is Yoda practically. I mean, she's so old, kind of thing. So there's things you just have to do. But I do love the industry, and I think that if you want to make this a career, if you want to write comics on the side or draw comics on the side, go for it. If you want to make this a career, and I've said this multiple times on multiple panels, you have to love comics and love the industry more than anything, more than sex, love, rock and roll, whatever. You need to love this more than anything, and you need to take the good and the bad with it, because there's so many phenomenal things in this industry and there's so much junk at the same time. And you have to be able to wade through it, and you have to be able to figure out, and you have to be able to figure out what is you're going to allow affect you, because in any creative industry you are going to be getting critiques from people all over the place. Some people loved X-23 number one, some people thought it was awful, some people loved Hallows Eve, some people thought it was awful. you know what can I do? you know um Obviously Marvel had enough confidence in me to do the book. Enough people, whether they hate read it or not, read enough of both of them that it's going to a second printing. So I hope it wasn't all hate reading.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Bottom line, they both got second printing. So, I mean,
So I don't know. Hopefully it's not hate reading, but you never know these days. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, you have to find a way to live with the industry and still be a positive force in it. And I'm the most negative person on the planet. So if I could be a positive force in the industry, then, what's anybody else's excuse? I'm the misanthrope. I always say I'm a hopeful misanthrope.
that's
I don't want to hate everybody, but I still kind of do. But I still hold out hope that humanity isn't total trash, even though to the contrary, evidence is to the contrary.
that is a great tagline. You just need that under your name on everything. Hopeful misanthrope.
Yeah, hopeful misanthrope.
All right, I'm gonna let you go. I feel extra bad now. I'm like, she's doing like 10 different projects at once. How am I taking her time for this foolishness?
Well, I mean, I've got the Kickstarter out, so I have to, promote the Kickstarter left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what I was gonna say before we leave.
yeah.
Promote everything, anything and everything that you're doing, because
Okay, so the Kickstarter for Cristabel, which is the first volume of a 60-page graphic novel. It is about a an exiled princess turned mercenary who is scouring the six territories for whatever artifact she can find to kill her evil stepmother sorceress, or sorceress stepmother rather. So that's sort of sword and light sorcery fantasy. That's going to be March 28th. That's launching. You can already check out the Kickstarter link at Erica Schultz Writes, uh, um, or Erica Schultz 42 on Twitter. Erica Schultz Writes on Instagram. I have the link in my bios. We've got X-23 number 2 and Hallows Eve number 2 coming out April 12th. We've got The Deadliest Bouquet collected edition from Image Comics coming out April 19th. We've got, hopefully, I'll be able to talk about something else and then another something else soon. But yeah, those are the main ones: the Cristabel Kickstarter, Deadliest Bouquet, and Hallows Eve number 2, and X-23 number 2.
I know I said I was ending, but it's like, it just seems like currently more than any other time in history, it's like you have to put so much in on the creative side, but like so much of your job is like promoting too.
Yeah, there is a lot of marketing, there's a lot of promoting, and I will say this, that at one point, um, not that long ago, you could get these sort of third-party apps that you could schedule posts
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Unfortunately, on Twitter, which is where my largest following is, I have the largest amount of followers on Twitter. Unfortunately, a lot of the third-party apps where you could use to schedule posts are no longer available.
Yeah.
So that has made things a little bit more difficult, because you could be able to be like, oh, I've got, 20 minutes, waiting for the bus kind of thing. Let me schedule couple of posts.
Yeah.
Whereas now I have to put, timers on my phone saying, don't forget, you've got to schedule, like we're doing cover reveals for Cristabel. So we have
Mhm.
four covers that you can choose from. So I did a cover reveal for the A cover with Natasha Alterici on Tuesday. Then I did one for Fabian Lelay yesterday. Then next week we're doing Allison Sampson and Skylar Patridge. But I can't schedule. I have to, make sure that
Yes.
on those days I know to do, okay, boom, you gotta focus here, here, and here. So it's a lot. It's
Oh,
a lot.
I know. I try to do it just for these podcasts. I can imagine if I was like like a writer writing books and stuff. I'm like, I don't know
And I
how you.
know some people get annoyed. It's like, oh, you're just retweeting your own tweet. It's like, yeah, well, it's a lot easier to just retweet my own tweet than to rewrite
Yeah.
everything over and over again. And I can only copy and paste only so much,
And again, I've been told. I mean, you put something up on Twitter. I mean, it goes up in that minute. There are so many people who aren't on Twitter at the time who are gonna miss it. Or
Well, I mean, I know that some people have tried to game the algorithm, whether it's
yeah,
Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. That's like too academic for me. And anytime that I've tried to sort of wade into that, it's changed because I know that they change the algorithm on occasion. So I'm like, even, I learned all of this stuff and then it turned out to be kind of useless information. So I'm not even worrying about it anymore. Um, but I try and, tag collaborators and then hope that they will then, push things along as well. And I think it was Greg Pak, he mentioned that if you like something, it sort of pings on Twitter, but you really should be retweeting people's stuff because that gives it, I guess, a higher engagement. Like it scores it higher, for lack of a better term, it scores it as higher engagement, and then it
yeah,
may get into more and more people's feeds, kind of thing.
yeah. I
So
think
I've
the
been
more you,
trying to like retweet as much as possible.
yeah, I think it is. The more you interact with people, it kind of does something. Yeah, there are so many rules to social media.
That's the thing is like I don't know, but it always feels like the second you finally figure out what the rules are, they change again.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
like, you're sort of always on the back foot, but such is life. Makes things
yes,
interesting, I guess.
yeah. So many. All right. Okay, one more thing before you leave. My other co-host Lilith will kill me if I don't get this.
Okay,
Can you just give me a quick drop? Hi, this is Erica Schultz, and you are listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
sure. Okay, let's go. Hi, this is Erica Schultz, and you are listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Perfect.
Nailed it.
Yes.
Yes.
I was gonna say just the amount of info just on like the creative process, and you say you teach this stuff. I mean, you should be online doing online classes or just like porting.
With
Again, you have no
what
time.
time?
I know. I was gonna say you have no
There
time.
are 24 hours in every day. There's, only so much that
I
I
was
can
gonna.
do.
I know. Well, I was gonna say if anything. I mean, I know it's
If things slow down a bit,
charge for classes. Yeah.
well, if things, I mean, I was teaching at the Cooper School. I was teaching online classes
Mm,
with the Cooper School. If things slow down a bit and I have some, space, then maybe I will look to do like a master class or what do they call it? Um, Curiosity Stream or something
mhm.
like that. I know Curiosity Stream. I mean, I know that there's multiple ones. Nova, I think, is one of them. Maybe I'll look to do something like that. But as of right now, I kind of have a good amount on the plate. So, I know you're gonna like freeze frame and zoom in and try to see what was written on that, I'm sure.
That's. I don't, but maybe someone else. Will.
I mean, they might not even really understand what it says because it's not coded, but I do have very bubbly handwriting.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but I enjoy it, and it's something that it feels good to walk into a shop and be like, oh man, whether I wrote it, edited it, lettered it, whatever, to be like, I had a part in that, and I really hope that other people take it and enjoy it.
Yes, that has to be an incredible feeling. But and again, let's end there on that happy note, on the positive thought. All right, I said it in the beginning. The great Erica Schultz. I mean, come on, how many the amount of content you're putting out? Come on, you
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So yeah, check me out on Twitter, Erica Schultz 42, on Instagram, Erica Schultz Writes, WRITES. I'm also at ericaschultzwrites.com. I've got some super rare variants for Hallows Eve on my website. I'm on Mastodon and Spoutable, also Erica Schultz 42. So, you know, come out, check out the Kickstarter, check out all the books. You know, I hope you enjoy them.
I know I did. So yes, again, highest recommendations, kids. Go pick up Hallows Eve and X-23.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I know you have little of it. So yes. All right, everyone. The great Erica Schultz. Thank you so much.